This is the most important hour in your life. For during this hour, you will decide your future, and thus our collective futures. Tonight, once again, we will delve into the lost light, the lost word as it's called, the great plan, the great work, the actual dogma, if you will, the actual true religion of the mysteries, the fraternal orders, the secret societies, which at the pinnacle of their pyramidal process of initiation lie the true and complete body of adepts, those known as the philosophers of fire, the illumined ones, or Illuminati. In the works that I will quote from, you will hear reference to the Illuminati from time to time. And when they mention the Illuminati, they are talking about their brothers or their superiors, the body of wise men whom are working behind the veil, behind the scenes, if you will, the 1,000 points of light, to bring about a utopian socialist world order. I would advise you not to believe anything that you hear on this broadcast, or any other broadcast for that matter, but to listen to everyone, read everything, believe absolutely nothing unless you can prove it in your own research. And for those of you who may have an inkling based upon your past study of our Mystery Babylon broadcasts, you will find great treasure. And I don't mean the kind of treasure that will cause you to switch religions or cause some dawning of some great truth to manifest itself in your mind, but will cause you a tremendous leap in understanding about where we are and where we're going, who is at the helm, and why they hate. And when I say hate, ladies and gentlemen, I am not mincing words. Why they hate you with a passion. I remind the listeners to this broadcast that this is not a religious broadcast. It is an illumination. A great man once said, "Seek ye the truth, and the truth will make you free." And so, with this series, I bring you the truth of a great secret in the world, at work constantly all the time. Only you, the profane, not understanding the language of this hidden work, this hidden manipulation, this great plan, stumble blindly through the forest, bouncing off of the trees. You don't know where you're going, you don't know where you came from, and you have no idea why you are where you are at. The Western world has too long and fatuously labored under the delusion that a pious and devout disposition fulfills the whole requirement of true religion. Now, this is the belief of those who belong to the mystery religion of ancient Babylon, and that's exactly where this comes from. And you must understand that I'm quoting from esoteric works that you will not find in your local library, and I will be quoting from several of those works tonight. Ancient sagacity knew that piety without intelligence, or religion without philosophy, was insufficient and dangerous. It knew that general good intent was not safe from aberrancy, folly, and fanaticism, unless it was directed by the highest powers and resources of the mind. And the mind itself had to be fortified with specific knowledge of the nature of the cosmos and of man, and the relation between the two. Following the dictum of the sage Hermes Trismegistus, that, quote, "the vice of a soul is ignorance, the virtue of a soul is knowledge," end quote, the scriptures of old inculcated the precept that with all man's getting, he must first get wisdom and understanding. These were related to his well-being as health to his navel and marrow to his bones, and would alone give him a crown of eternal life. They were pronounced more precious than all the things that he could desire. The Council of Illuminati therefore laid down their system of cosmology and anthropology, which have become by immemorial tradition the Bibles of humanity, universally reverenced. In them were given the ordinances of life, the constitution of the cosmos, the laws governing both nature and mind. They still constitute the Magna Carta of all human action guided by intelligence, for they were the first institutes embodying the principia and fundamenta of all moral behavior, the only true chart and compass to guide human effort in a line of harmony with an overshadowing divine plan of evolution for the cosmos. The corruption and final loss of the basic meaning of these scriptures has been, in the whole of time, the greatest tragedy in human history. Like Shakespeare's tide, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune, but omitted, casts all the rest of life in shoals and quicksands, the wreckage of the esoteric gnosis in the centuries following Plato's day, culminating in the debacle of all philosophical religion about the 3rd century of Christianity's development, and ushering in 16 centuries of the Dark Ages, has thrown all religion out of basic relation to true understanding and caused it to breed an endless train of evils, fanaticisms, bigotries, idiosyncrasies, superstitions, wars, and persecutions that more than anything else blacken the record of man's historic struggle toward the light. The present, most frightful of all historical barbarities, owes its incidence directly to the decay of ancient philosophical knowledge and the loss of vision and virtue that would have attended its perpetuation. What, then, must be the importance of a book which restores to the scriptures of ancient wisdom the lost light of their true original meaning? Well, in a very real and direct way, the salvation of culture and a free spirit in the world is contingent upon this restoration of the ancient intelligence to modernity. For man at this age has had new and mighty powers of nature suddenly placed in his hands, and yet lacks the spiritual poise and sagacity to use them without calamity. Most strangely, the control of the lower physical, natural, or brute forces by the mind or reason was the one central situation primarily and fundamentally dealt with in the sage tomes of antiquity. To effect that control in a perfect balance and harmony, and to train the reasoning intellect in the divine art of it, was the aim and end of the arcane philosophy. Ideology in the Western world has endlessly vacillated back and forth between the cult of the inner spirit and engrossment in objective materialism. Ancient philosophy taught that the true path of evolutionary growth was to be trodden by an effort that united the forces of the spirit with those of the world, the lower disciplined by the higher. The whole gist of the esoteric doctrine was the study and mastery of the powers engaged in working out the evolutionary advance, so that the aspirant might be able to align his cultural effort in consonance with the requirements of the problem and the end to be achieved. Now, without this guiding data and this evolutionary perspective, modern man is totally at a loss how to focus his endeavor, and is unable to point his direction in line with anything more fixed and basic than his next immediate objective of apparent desirability. He has neither a knowledge of his origin, a chart of his path, an inventory of his capacities, or a vision of his goal. Hence, he travels the long road, still a benighted wanderer without compass. He can but recoil from one mistaken plunge after another, learning sporadic lessons from pain and misfortune. The ancient torch that was lighted for his guidance he has let burn out. This lamp was the body of ancient philosophy. In this critical epoch in the life of the world, this broadcast proclaims afresh the message of lost truth according to the adepts, the Illuminati, of the secret doctrine of the mystery religion of ancient Babylon. Now, don't mistake what you hear on this broadcast for what I believe, ladies and gentlemen. That is not the purpose of the broadcast, and I can assure you that most of this, other than the fact that it is the truth of what the worshipers of this religion believe, I do not believe at all. I can assure you. Three ancient and long discredited sciences have had a surprising renaissance in popular fancy and scientific interest. You have heard it from me many times. One is symbolism, one is alchemy, another is astrology. The last has particularly come into a general vogue, but on a basis which still inclines conservative positivism in science and scholarship to regard it as allied closely with popular superstition. In its predictive or fortune-telling aspect, it is generally looked at askance. But there is another side on which it has pertinence and value that has not been recognized in the modern revival, and on which perhaps its most legitimate claim to consideration may rest. This is its function as symbolic theology. And in that manner, ladies and gentlemen, you can take it to the bank, but only if you understand this symbology. Unquestionably, according to the great adepts, cosmic operation, cosmic significance lie behind the 12 constellations of the zodiac and the 36 or more other stellar configurations. The planisphere, or chart of the heavens, was doubtless the very first of all Bibles, pictorially edited, not quite simply and directly, but intrinsically. All Bibles are amplifications and elaborations of the original volume of ideography first written on the open face of the sky, charted in the zodiac and heavenly maps, and later transferred to earth and written in scrolls and parchments. It came about when man could not write, when man wished to express his feelings about life, about spirituality, about his origins, about the truths of life as he understood it, about his basic philosophy. And so not being able to put it down on paper or to etch it in stone in those early times, he outlined it in the heavens using the stars that floated above him, rising in the east and setting in the west, night after night after night, eon after eon, thousands of years, passed down by word of mouth, and then one day, etched in stone, transferred to paper, and then finally printed in a book. Man was instructed to fashion his new body of spiritual glory after the pattern of things in the heavens. The heavenly or zodiacal man, and a graph of the structure and history of this celestial personage was sketched by the enlightened sages in the configurated star clusters. Zodiac, you see, comes from the Greek word zodion, a small living image, signifying that it is a graph of the microcosmic life of man, which is cast in the form of the macrocosmic life of the universe, or, to put it in a manner that you may understand more readily, or of God.